Welcome to another edition of Kentucky Esports Weekly, where we report video game industry and esports news. I'm your host, Nathan Stevens, and I would like to welcome you to the first week back, dear students. It's been a bumpy summer since it's been bumpy since March. We're glad you're back. Much like the semester schoolwork and that syllabus you will eventually read, we have little time to waste, so let's go forthwith to quick hitters. According to esportsinsider.com's Juno Nicholson, the NBA 2K League has formed a partnership with everyone's favorite option when you don't feel like cooking dinner, DoorDash. The deal will make DoorDash the presenting partner for the NBA through the NBA 2K League playoffs and the finals. Esports Insider received a statement from DoorDash CEO Tony Xu, who said, "We are so proud to be the inaugural on-demand food platform partner for the NBA, an innovative and dynamic league. This partnership will bring together food, sports, culture, and technology to create memorable experiences for fans, while at the same time advancing our shared values of diversity, access, and empowering local communities." I could say this partnership's kind of made in heaven. Get good eats while watching NBA 2K League play. It's never really a bad combo. Anyway, moving along. Bandai Namco Entertainment has provided updates for the upcoming Dragon Ball FighterZ tournament, which is right around the hypothetical corner, DBZ fans. Next month, they will announce regional tournament competitors for the Dragon Ball Z FighterZ National Championship. After such a time, the competition will go live between October and November, spanning across most of the world, which includes France, Spain, Japan, and the US. The championship will conclude with a final showdown in December to see who will become the grand champion. Always fun to have a grand champion. Tournaments will be featured on the DBZ Twitch channel and the Bandai Namco Entertainment Esports YouTube channel. I know a lot of gamers out there enjoy the heck out of that game. Like, just really, really enjoy it. So the tournament should be fun to watch for them and for the rest of us who don't have any other sports in our lives. And that is it for Quick Hitters. Let's shift over to industry news.
Hello, I'm Tyler Ralston.
And I'm Hailey Salyers.
And welcome to this week's industry news. First, we have a big story involving Epic Games, Apple, and Google. Apple and Google both top the marketplace for mobile phone hardware and software, so developing applications to be distributed through their storefronts is essential. These two mega corporations are fully aware of this and therefore have placed within their terms of service for app developers specific requirements that allot for a percentage of any in-app purchases to be directed to their metaphorical pockets. These percentages can be as much as 30% in Apple's case, and while certainly a beneficial business decision for them, it is one that many companies likely find punching holes in their already ludicrous but potentially even greater profits. Epic Games, the developers behind Fortnite, a game which has cemented itself on every platform from PC to console to mobile, is one such company, and accordingly has started a battle of its own against both Apple and Google. On Thursday, Epic Games released an update to the Fortnite store, allowing players to directly purchase in-app products through Epic Games, which results in a 20% discount to the price, since they no longer have to factor in the 30% of Apple or any other online store which would take from their profit. With the price of direct payment versus payment through the distributor side by side, of course consumers would pursue the cheaper yet equally rewarding option. This update occurred on both the Android and iOS versions of the game, and as such, Apple and Google both removed Fortnite from their stores, citing violations of their terms of service. However, it is clear Epic planned on these actions from the beginning, responding with a video that mirrors Apple's memorable 1984 Macintosh commercial and a #FreeFortnite campaign alongside a lawsuit for each company, citing antitrust and anti-competitive behaviors that show they have become the very monopolies they once stood against. Taking on both Apple and Google at once feels like an insurmountable task, but Epic Games does stand a chance, even if it is smaller in comparison. While this may seem like a noble pursuit and may indeed have positive results for smaller companies and developers, it is still all rooted in the pursuit of monetary profit. Lawsuits like these can take excessively lengthy amounts of time, so the final statements may not be coming anytime soon, but when they arrive, it is likely to be big news.
And you heard Tyler mention 1984, and now we have some more George Orwell news. Like me, you may have had to read Orwell's 1945 novel Animal Farm in school. Regardless of your opinions on the satirical story, you probably weren't reading it and thinking, wow, that plot would make an excellent video game. Well, it turns out developer Narial has attempted just that. Written by Emily Short and narrated by Assassin's Creed Origins voice actor Abu Bakr Salim, a choose-your-own-adventure style game will be a new telling of the Animal Farm story when it is released later this year. Narial previously developed 2016's game Reigns. No gameplay has been released for Animal Farm yet, but a teaser trailer is out now. The game, which is set for mobile and PC, can be added to your Steam wishlist.
When the Halo Infinite gameplay footage and trailers were finally revealed at the Xbox livestream event a few weeks ago, the response by the fan base was largely mixed. While many are excited for a continuation to this beloved franchise, many questioned its graphical fidelity, from low resolution or lacking details and textures to pop-in landscape elements, or the overall art style feeling flat and plastic-like. Such issues sparked many comments, which grew into criticisms, discussion, and in the case of one particular brute enemy, the Craig meme. This last week, Microsoft and 343 Industries, likely as a result of both these criticisms and internal pressures, have announced that Halo Infinite's November release is being delayed back into 2021. In a statement from Chris Lee, the studio head, on Halo's official Twitter account, he cited multiple factors and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic as challenges that have hindered the studio's progress on the game's development. However, Chris Lee claims the team still has the drive to create a Halo title that delivers on their vision, and so the delay was a choice they made recently. It is their hope that continued development over an extended window will allow for this game to become the success both the devs and fans expect. As it stands, Halo fans will have to wait a bit longer to play this new title, but in related news, the Xbox Series X is still poised for a release in November despite this delay of one of their main launch titles.
In other news, Ghost of Tsushima is launching a new way to play. The game, released earlier this year, is a single-player design that follows a narrative led by one character. However, Sucker Punch has announced plans to release a co-op multiplayer mode called Legends later this year. Instead of following the character of Jin, Legends will follow 4 legendary Tsushima warriors: the Samurai, the Hunter, the Ronin, and the Assassin. This version will be more heavily steeped in traditional Japanese mythology. While players can choose which of the 4 legends they want to play as, the mode will require at least 2 participants. Sucker Punch has announced a 4-player raid that will be released after the Legends launch. Though it doesn't give much detail away or confirm a release date, a cinematic trailer is out now for Ghost of Tsushima Legends.
Rainbow Six Siege's next season of content has finally been revealed, and it is quite an update to behold. Often each season has a new face, brand new operator for players to experience with all their weapons, gadgets, and function. For this season, the newest addition to the attacking side of the Rainbow Six team is none other than the legendary Sam Fisher, protagonist of the Splinter Cell franchise. Sam brings a few handy tools to the table, including a brand new primary weapon, the SC-3000K, with a high rate of fire, damage output, and low recoil. His alternative primary is the MP7, and a secondary weapon, the silenced 5.7 USG pistol. In classic Splinter Cell fashion, the new gadget is the Argus launcher, a small pistol that fires 4 tiny cameras that burrow into non-reinforced and reinforced walls on just about any surface. With these 4 cameras, Sam is able to swap between viewing each side of the burrowed surface, and each camera comes equipped with a single laser shot that can destroy the defending team's gadgets. Aside from this frontrunner for the new season, Ubisoft has also entirely reworked the gun sights and their distribution. Now only one defender has access to an ACOG, now called a 2.5 times sight. It's Vigil with his Boss G slug-loaded shotgun. A few attackers also had their ACOG access removed, but this is balanced around the new addition of the 1 times, 1.5 times, 2 times, 2.5 times, and 3 times scopes. The DMR or other long-range weapons on the attacking side will gain access to the 3 times scopes, but otherwise operators now have a larger variety of options when it comes to weapon customization. On top of this overhaul comes another great touch-up for the ping system, which is now heavily contextual. No longer are you simply placing a yellow ping with no distinction on what exactly you wish to point out. Instead, if your ping is placed on a gadget, then that ping will change to indicate exactly what you are looking at. Pings also now have numbered identifiers that are displayed on the scoreboard so you can specifically tell who is pinging what. So no more sneakily scanning on your teammate's drone and giving them away without possible consequence. Other additions this season are a new tool for attacking operators overall, a new hard-breaching gadget that blows vaulting-sized holes into walls, a decent in-between for those who don't wish to bring the entire kit of a hard-breaching dedicated operator. A map banning phase has also been added for teams to vote on avoiding maps they dislike, as well as a match replay feature being tested and developed on the test servers. Accessibility options have also finally been brought to the game that allow for weapon sights to have their reticles recolored for those who desire some customization and or suffer from color blindness, and many hope this feature will be expanded to issues such as the lasers on claymores and other utilities. Finally, the map Chalet got a rework to remove problematic areas such as select windows or floors, or retooling the floor's layout and pathways of the map to give the map a better flow and more variety per match. Thatcher also got a nerf back to an older version where he no longer outright destroys enemy gadgets with his EMP, but instead simply disables them for a limited time. This is a lot of changes for Rainbow Six Siege, and players can test it out right now on the test servers or expect its full release to the game on September 14th.
And finally, Beat Saber has some new beat maps and fresh DLC. 11 Linkin Park songs are now available in a DLC pack that celebrates the 20th anniversary of the band's album Hybrid Theory. The pack also includes songs from their albums Meteora and Minutes to Midnight. With all 11 songs being available across all difficulty settings, that's 55 new beat maps. The pack also includes a game area based on the One Step Closer music video. If you're even remotely familiar with Linkin Park, you would probably guess that songs like In the End, Numb, and Faint are included, and you'd be correct with those guesses. In addition to those songs and One Step Closer, the pack also includes Bleed It Out, Breaking the Habit, Given Up, New Divide, Paper Cut, Somewhere I Belong, and What I've Done. The Linkin Park DLC pack is available now from PSN or Steam for $14. Songs are also sold separately for $2 each. And that is it for the industry news this week. Now back to Nathan.
Well, we are at the end of our show, and Alex Cutadean is joining us, and all his wise hardware knowledge is here as well.
Yeah, we're back on campus. This is my day job. I'm at the Faculty Media Depot. We've got a studio space set up. We've actually got a wall and a door in between us, so we are socially distanced. We've got our masks at hand, but yeah, back on campus, and things are getting going for this semester. And yeah, things are still moving along with the next gen of consoles as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are. As Sony and Microsoft are looking at each other and just waiting for the other one to move, we're slowly getting more information. Alex mentioned earlier when we were talking about subjects to talk about during the wrap. He had mentioned that Xbox came along with their slideshow to kind of like lay out their architecture, something that Sony did like back in February. I don't know. Microsoft is doing it like now, but what can you tell us about this system?
We learned a little bit, and actually thought of one more point that we hadn't talked about a moment ago. But so this was a deep dive at Hot Chips 2020, where they diagram some of the. We actually saw some layouts of the system on a chip that they're using, the integration, as well as got a little bit more detail about the hardware they're using. And we still don't know exactly the capabilities, but we got a little bit more insight into what that hardware might be able to do, and kind of that with that integrated chip. And one of the things, kind of the takeaways I took from it, the first was that probably the power of this chip is unlikely to do pure ray tracing. It's probably going to use something similar to NVIDIA's technology with DLSS, which is kind of like a machine learning or AI enhanced ray tracing, which is utilized visually. It's very similar. Once your image is moving, you don't see a lot of difference between an image. If you freeze frame it, you definitely can see a difference. But when you're moving at 60 frames a second or more in motion, it's really hard to perceive that. And that's kind of what that AI and machine learning does. It figures out how it's able to interpret what ray tracing would look like in a environment where your scene is moving. Another takeaway from this was that the Xbox Series X is probably going to utilize its SSD, similar to what the PS5 is doing, kind of with low amounts of what will end up being low amounts of memory for the amount of the frame buffer they need to build, the amount of visual data that they're trying to pack into memory. They're going to be leveraging that SSD a lot for instead of caching everything in RAM, caching it off the SSD with still a very high speed SSD. It doesn't sound like it's going to be as high speed as the PS5, but it's going to be a very fast SSD. And the last thing was the frame rates that it will support. So we got a little bit more information about the chipset with the HDMI support. It will support up to 4K 120 or 8K 60. That's really, I think it's good to support those standards because it kind of, in a sense, nothing's future-proof, but you get that kind of sense of future-proof with supporting those higher resolutions and frame rates. It's probably more applicable to streaming media. So streaming media or sports, maybe, in the lifespan of this console, maybe we'll have 4K 120 sports streaming at one point. I doubt you're going to see a lot of games at 4K 120. If they are, they're not going to be very hardware intensive. So those are kind of the takeaways I took from that slide deck. Still some a little bit more information, but until developers and the public really gets their hands on some of these games, it's still a toss-up as to what actual performance we're going to see.
Yeah, I know that as you had brought up earlier off camera, we talked about how the developers generally don't figure out how well the hardware can work until later on into its life. I know with this generation of PS4, I was in awe of Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm pretty sure Sucker Punch had just completely got used to the hardware, how it can function, probably worked around some things that they hadn't been able to work around early on in its life, and got the most out of it, which ended up being a really gorgeous game.
And maybe even more so with this generation than even before. There are lots of tricks, playing with clock speeds, disabling cores, enabling those compute units on the GPUs. There's a lot of stuff over time that developers will get more comfortable with leveraging, and I think we're going to see, even with people saying you're not going to get 4K 60 out of these systems, we've heard some of that, I think we're going to get some very visually impressive games through the lifespan of these systems.
Yeah, I mean, if we could do that would be fine with me. I don't need the extra frame rates. Well, that's great. So before we wrap, what do you think this system's going to cost after looking at that hardware chart? What's your guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. The biggest challenge, I think both of these console manufacturers have to be willing to take a loss on some of this hardware. I don't think the public is going to really tolerate something much more than $500. I think, to me, that's kind of like a cap. But at the same time, they've got their budget level systems as well. So, maybe we see their budget, the Series S and the what's PlayStation's PlayStation digital, PS5 digital, or what are they calling it?
It is digital. I think it's just digital edition.
And maybe those come in at 400, and these other ones come in at 550 or 500. It's amazing how much hardware they're packing in and the price targets they're gonna have to hit to really reach mass market and to try to outsell their competitors. I think if I was going to build a PC with these components, with this much hardware, you're probably looking at like $1,000 computer. But somehow, through scale and through the hardware partnerships and through it taking a little bit of a loss, I I see $600 as like a ceiling for the highest end of these systems. I don't think they'll sell it higher than that.
Yeah, I always think that anything over $499 is a really hard sell for consumers. There has rarely been a system that has gone over that has been successful. I think maybe I mean, even people may not consider it a success, but it sold well. The PlayStation 3, I think, initially launched at some ridiculous price. It was close to that, and but yeah, once you get past that point, you're looking at the 3DOs of the world, where it's like 650 and up. You know, it's ridiculous. Nobody will touch it. Even right. I mean, it's But all right, well, cool, good stuff. Thank you, as usual. You're like the hardware translator. It's interesting and fascinating when you break this stuff down. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, you all. Well, we are at the end of the show, and I just want to remind you: stay safe, wear your masks when applicable, and just be smart while you're out on campus. And we'll see you next week. Take care.